So here is our discussion of the first passage. Now, this passage, as you can very easily see, is based on political philosophy, and actually the first paragraph could have put off some people. It is the first paragraph which is the key to unlock the entire passage. If you can deal with some of the terms that are used here, if you understand them well, I am sure you'd find it very easy. So let's spend some time together on the first paragraph. So it says political philosophy has been practiced for as long as human beings have regarded their collective arrangements not as immutable, blah blah blah. So basically it says that that political philosophy started as long as human beings have regarded their collective engagements as immutable, not as immutable. And then it can be found in many different cultures, taken a wide variety of forms. Two reasons for the diversity. First, the methods and approach used by political philosophers reflect the general philosophical tendencies of their era, of their epoch. So developments in epistemology and ethics, for instance. So you realize this sentence goes on to give you the examples, and it talks about two keywords, epistemology and ethics. So let's spend some time on this. Epistemology is the philosophical study of human knowledge. So when we say it is a study of human knowledge, what do we study in this? We look at the nature of knowledge. What is knowledge? We look at the origin. Where does this knowledge come from? Does it come from experience? Are you born with it, etc.? And then the limits of human knowledge. What all can we know and what all is unknowable to us, right? So that's basically epistemology. It is also called the study or the theory of knowledge. And it happens to be one of the four main branches of philosophy. So the other three main branches are metaphysics, logic, and ethics, right? And it is a very old branch. Nearly every major philosopher has actually gone on to contribute to it. Now, the other word is ethics. We already know it is one of those four main branches now. So it is a discipline concerned with what is morally good and bad, what is morally right or wrong. It talks about things like how we should live. So, for example, should we aim at happiness or knowledge? Okay, in case we choose happiness, will it be our own happiness or the happiness of the mankind? And what about questions like, is it right to be dishonest in a good cause? Does the end justify the means? Or how about, can we justify living in opulence, rich, while elsewhere in the world people are starving? Or is going to war justified in cases where it is likely that innocent people will be killed? Is it wrong to clone a human being? Is it wrong to destroy human embryos in medical research? What are our obligations, if any, to the generations of humans who will come after us, and to the non-human animals with whom we share the planet? So these are the kind of things that we worry about in ethics. So you realize every epoch, every era has its own philosophical passions, right? So those passions can dictate the kind of political philosophy that you come up with. And then the second reason for the diversity is the pressing political issues of the day. So that's one issue. Here is another issue, and it uses another term here, absolutism. So absolutism is a political theory that absolute power should be vested in one or more rulers. Okay, so for example, a monarch, a king, or a dictator, they have that absolute power, right? So the essence of an absolutist system is that the ruling power, that ruling person, is not subject to any challenge or check by any other agency, okay, be it judiciary or legislative or a religious authority, an economic authority, even electoral authorities. So absolute power vested into a person or a set of people. So absolutism versus those who sought to justify a limited constitutional state. So the essence of the first paragraph is political philosophy has been practiced ever since humans came into existence and they started looking at their collective arrangements. But there are various types of political philosophies. There are two reasons for this diversity. Then the next two paragraphs for you. right? And then you have this. If we examine the main works of, they can be divided roughly into two categories. So there are people who are philosophers and also contribute to political philosophy, and there are people who did not contribute much to philosophy, but they did contribute a lot to political philosophy. And that's basically it. A fairly shortish passage. And I think I kind of find them short, but this is the absolute length that we have been getting in the CAT exam for the last couple of years. So here is your first question. Which of the following statements best represents the core argument of the passage? Now, these are the questions that we popularly know as main idea questions. So let us have a look. How about A? Political philosophy is a diverse field. Yes. Has been practiced for centuries. Yes. It gives you just one major key idea. So I think this sounds good, but let us see. How about B? Political philosophy is closely connected to a question about human nature. Now, as far as main ideas go, I will say that this is a narrow answer choice. Why is it narrow? This basically talks about the essence of the third paragraph, but it ignores the other paragraphs. How about C? The principles established by political philosophers may be universally valid. Well, the passage has a question that are they universally valid, and there is no answer provided. So to say that they may be universally valid is anyway a distortion of what the passage states, and therefore I don't think it is going to be a good answer. How about D? Political philosophy is shaped by the pressing political issues of the day. Yes, but that is only half of the story. It is also shaped by the general, remember those philosophy passions. So there were two reasons for the diversity. It talks about only the second one. So the issue here once again is it is narrow. So if I look at all the four options, I realize that there is some problem with B, C, and D each. A does not have any of those problems, and that is why we should go ahead and choose A as our answer. So for question number 1, A it is. Let's have a look at question number 2. Which of the following represents the figure who has not made a significantly lasting contribution to philosophy as a whole? So all this is a specific detail or a fact-based question. You just need to go to the 4th paragraph, read up the second half where it talks about there are people who made contribution to general philosophy, and then those who made contribution only to political philosophy, not to philosophy as a whole. So that list had a lot of the second list, people who did not contribute to philosophy. You had a lot of names. You had Cicero, Marsilius, Machiavelli, Rousseau, Bentham, Marx. So because Rousseau was a part of that list, we should have no hesitation in choosing B as our answer. This is one of those questions where I think you'd probably feel sad if you miss out on it. Okay, so easy question. Question number 3. All of the following inferences from the passage are false except. So basically 3 of them are false, 1 of them is not false. It can be true, it can be can't say, and that is the one that we need to choose as our answer, right? So let us see. How about A? People's personalities are primarily influenced by the culture to which they belong. The passage presents it as a question. The passage says, but can we discover common traits in human beings everywhere, or are people's characters predominantly shaped by the particular culture they belong to? It was a question, it was not definitive, and therefore I'd say that this is not true. Okay, how about B? Political philosophy is a timeless field that has been practiced for centuries. If I take you to the very first line, it says political philosophy has been practiced for as long as human beings have regarded their collective arrangements not as immutable and part of the natural order, but as potentially open to change. So we know that there was a particular point in the existence of the mankind where we started looking at political philosophy as a field of study, as a field of focus. It was not timeless. So once again, not true. How about C? Political philosophy is closely connected with only the individual nature of humans. No, it is just one of the things that it is connected with, and the passage tells us that it is also connected with these other things. The cultural context, the philosophical context. So this is also, as a result, not true. D, political philosophy must decide whether people are primarily self-centered or altruistic. Yup, the third paragraph actually has this line which says, in order to justify a set of collective arrangements, a political philosophy must say something about the nature of human beings, about their needs, their capacities, about whether they are mainly selfish or mainly altruistic. So, yep, this is true. And that is why this is going to be, option D is going to be our answer for question number 3. So D it is here. And with that, let us move over to our fourth and the last question. Of the 2 reasons for diversity in political philosophy mentioned in paragraph 1, which one can be said to be the more significant one? So, so what are the 2 reasons mentioned there? First reason, the methods and approaches used by political philosophers that reflect the general philosophical tendencies of their epoch. And the second reason was the political philosopher's agenda is largely set by the pressing political issues of the day. So those were the reasons for this diversity. Now, the passage mentions these 2 as reasons, but there is absolutely no call taken on which one of the 2 is more important. And therefore, we can very easily eliminate A and B. And between C and D, the author has mentioned these 2 in the very first paragraph, and that sets the foundation for you for the rest of the passage. So they are definitely important, right? And even these perennial questions is actually a part of the first reason. So D can also be eliminated, leaving us with C as our answer. And thus, we can just choose this and move on. So that takes care of our first passage. Some of us may face some issues here, primarily because we are not familiar with this area, this territory. So I'd recommend that you go ahead and read up more on philosophy and politics, and that will definitely